Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's Reddit stories are from MaliciousCompliance. Story 1 is by Woolen Goose. Complied so much on a test it stopped evil boss from profiling employees. I had an evil middle manager boss who eventually lost a third of the team in under 3 months. I had been there longer than him before his position was built out. He was a really gross one. Like psychological abuse, and also openly commented on a 16-year-old celebrity being hot when he was 36. Anyway, when he was onboarded, he pretty quickly assessed which employees he couldn't bully and started trying to make our lives harder. He started doing some anonymous reviews and tests. Not surprisingly, some anonymous feedback was super negative for the people on his crap list, even if we were high-performing or project leads. I finally had enough of attempting to talk it out head-on. He always denied everything, and even once asked me if I was on drugs, WTF, during a one-on-one. This was or is a hugely famous tech company. Anyway, he decided it was time for another round of anonymous testing, this time a personality test. I answered every question imagining I was him, every single one. To nobody's surprise, he was like, "Surprise, we are going to all reveal and see what results we have on the screen now. Yay!" I matched him perfectly. The only one. He got the absolute psychopath result, but it also says like entrepreneur and celebrity, so he would have been thrilled, but he knew we were very different, yet somehow we had the exact same result, out of like 20 plus possibilities. When he pulled up the results on screen, his face dropped. He stared directly at me, immediately breaking the character who was excited for sharing this secret results. I watched him choke on his own anger as he pretended to go down the list, now unprepared. Every other sentence out of his mouth suddenly was how unreliable these tests can be and that you never know. As he dug his hole deeper, explaining backwards regarding this time-wasting team-wide meeting for his stupid exercise, originally intended to single out some folks based on a personality test, I finally found my opportunity. I smiled at him. I smiled with eye contact. No words. Everything was said there. I watched him die inside, and he still had to fill 25 minutes of his stupid meeting or call it off. Yes, he had us all take this personality test so that we could reflect upon our strengths and weaknesses for personal growth or something like that. But then he had a meeting where all the results were shared with the team. He was previously a Google manager, which at the time was known for churning out really toxic management. He was able to take a tight-knit team and start pitting us against each other. He didn't like the ones who wouldn't participate on the social politics or jump because he said jump. He eventually lost 5 of us in a 3-month window. Reasoning with him wouldn't work. We tried. And this is OP's second story involving the same manager. Our company always had a giant rager of a holiday party at the end of the year, renting multi-story concert spaces with DJs, live bands, celebrities, top-shelf liquor, etc. However, he wanted us also to have a team celebration at the end of the day before our winter break. For some reason, I was tasked with this. I was working on a data trend and heuristics project, so very weird I was put on party planning instead of an admin. But I love holiday and I loved my team, so I was excited, until he had this meeting with me about it. He gave me a tiny budget, a list of things I was not allowed to do for the party, and most importantly, I was not allowed to spend any budget money for alcohol. I was shocked. I asked if the beer fridge at work was what he expected to use since the company had contracted mechanics that kept us well stocked. He said I also wasn't allowed to use that and I wasn't allowed to buy alcohol for the party. I felt like he had done all this to set me up to have a failure of a party. Instead, I showed some other team members and they said they were also shocked by this list. We made a plan. Well, I get this party all set up and it's about to get fun. Boss shows up with bags in hands and looks at the spread. He says in front of everyone, "OP, did you actually forget the drinks? Well, good thing I brought all this," and triumphantly puts his bags of alcohol on the table. But then I'm like, "No, you told me I wasn't allowed to buy drinks." He pretended he would never do that. And then I said, "So I didn't. They did," and pointed to a whole bunch of drinks the rest of the team was pulling out. He realized that not only would he not get to be the hero, but that everyone involved had also seen his horrible list. Deer in headlights moment. The cherry is that we had a Secret Santa where I paired all the choices. I made sure I got him for my gift giving, so we opened the gifts and I had gifted him a really nice flight of 3 high-end gins, his favorite. My attention to detail and kindness towards him obviously made him so uncomfortable after what he just tried to pull. He looked so guilty and unable to enjoy it. In a way, OP, you're killing him with kindness. Not actually killing him, it's just a phrase. There's no murder involved here. So, I'm impressed. You covered your butt, you contacted others, you showed them the message. It's not like this was supposed to be a secret party anyway, so you were allowed to show everybody else the messages he sent you. And he was able to be shown as a liar in front of everyone who was trying to inflate his own ego. I am so glad you took him down. Our next story is by Manglewood. When the, quote, secret, quote, backfires. Around 2008, I was a radiology assistant in a mammography unit, meaning I was the person who ushered in patients, showed them where to put their belongings, gives them the gown and instructions. Another part of my job was keeping the radiology station clean and tidy so that work surfaces were clear and sanitary. Around this same time, quote, the secret, quote, was huge and my coworkers were way into it. For those who don't know, it's a ridiculous pseudoscientific method pushed by Oprah Winfrey that promised you can get whatever you want simply by visualizing and asking the universe for it. The ugly side of this fairy tale thinking was that if bad things happened to you, it's your fault because you invited it by putting energy out into the universe. I found it wildly inappropriate that healthcare professionals believed that breast cancer victims had caused their own cancers through negative thinking. I fought with a few of the radiology techs about it, but I was completely outnumbered, so I just tried to keep my head down, focus on patients, and do my job, which included tidying up their O magazines, secret books, and other secret-related materials because they would leave them strewn all over the counters. Since they all hated me for not being in their secret clique, they decided to hang up on me and go to the manager with complaints about my attitude. I was called out of work into a disciplinary ambush meeting where I explained my side of things. On the higher-up, managers totally agreed with me and actually defended me, but at the conclusion of the meeting I was told not to touch anyone else's stuff because there were complaints that I was shoving magazines into the corners and threw away somebody's copy of The Secret. I really wish I had, but I actually did not do that. It was a complete lie. So, by complaining about me, my idiotic coworkers effectively took away the part of my job that was cleaning up after them. I was no longer allowed to touch any of their magazines, so they piled up 2 inches deep on every surface, plus empty bottles and yogurt containers, used napkins, cafeteria trays, popcorn detritus, and all sorts of other trash. The workstation looked like a landfill. They would be absolutely seething about it and glaring at me, but I would sit there, reading, happily doing absolutely nothing about it since I wasn't allowed to touch their stuff. And down in the comments underneath this one was the best comment in the entire page by Coder Joe 1. Their mess was the result of their negative energy. See, it does work. Some people call it the law of attraction, where you believe in something so strongly and it's going to happen to you. Like you just focus on it all the time and it's going to happen. If you believe in it, more power to you. You do you if it makes you happy, but I've never been somebody that believes in that sort of stuff. Law of attraction, the secret about negative energy in the universe and how it's going to come to you if you focus on it, and how if you have negative thoughts, you're going to get terminal diseases and stuff. People have their beliefs, and if it helps you be more positive in the long run, that's great. But it doesn't work for everybody, and it's not needed by everybody. And I think that way about a lot of things in the world as well. People can do whatever they want as long as they're not hurting anybody else, if it makes them happy. Our last story today is by Biba BW. Boss blames me for her forgetfulness. I'm a traveling healthcare worker, and my current contract is for 2 hospitals about 30 minutes away from each other. When I applied for this contract, there was no mention on the posting of working at 2 hospitals, but the manager mentioned during my interview I would occasionally have to work at a sister hospital as well. I agreed that was fine, and when setting up my living arrangements, I made sure I was closest to the hospital I was told I'd be at most of the time. My start date rolls around and she's completely flipped things, so I'm now at the sister hospital the vast majority of the time, and almost never at the hospital that is close to me. To make things even better, I don't have badge access or computer access at the sister hospital, and construction has closed down the road that I was initially taking to get to the sister hospital. Construction is expected to last for almost the entire length of my contract, making me commute over an hour long each way, more than triple what it would be if I was at the closer hospital. I've brought up these concerns via email, text, over the phone, and in person to my manager multiple times, and she's assured me she will fix the technological problem ASAP, but then I never hear back. When the next schedule came out, she has me exclusively at the sister hospital, so I email her to ask if it could be adjusted because of the above troubles. She ignores my email until she comes into work to tell me no schedule changes will be happening, and starts chewing me out in front of multiple coworkers for never coming to her about my technological problems. Since then, I have started texting her every single day as soon as she gets to work, asking if she has any updates on my access problems, and every single day she texts me some excuse as to why she forgot and why it hasn't been solved yet. Every time I see her in person, I make sure to bring up that she told me she would fix things and ask if she had an update in front of as many coworkers as possible, so that she has to admit that she's apparently extremely forgetful in front of everybody as well. Not the craziest instance of malicious compliance, but it does feel good to annoy the crap out of her with daily texts and constant pestering after she tried to embarrass me. These kinds of managers are the worst. Micromanagers are awful too, but ones that lambaste you in front of a bunch of coworkers and try to basically embarrass you into submission. Like, if I embarrass this person, they're going to stop bothering me about this. Did she actually forget, or did she just want you to stop asking her to get you access to the place? I seriously wish that you had the text messages in front of you, or you had a screenshot of your email, anything to show. And when she went off on you in front of a bunch of people, you would say, well, here's the proof right here. I asked you to get this for me multiple times and you haven't. But OP, you can also rest assured, everyone else probably has problems with this manager as well. It's not just you. They sound like they're rough to deal with. Our stories for today have come to a close. Until we meet again, have a restful day.